Welcome back, my dark beings, to the Dark Void. I ruled by me, 951, with a K, people, with a K, and it's Night Space Wolf 51, just to let you know. And today, we're back to doing a Creepypasta reaction. Just to let you know, I'm actually recording this, it's almost 8:30 at night, so I'm actually recording this. The only reason why I was doing this is because, yeah, getting this entire week is going to be filled with long shifts. Thankfully, the last day I was able to record some videos. But today I had to make an extension because I wanted to make a creepypasta New Year's video because New Year's is coming up, and then I also have something planned for tomorrow about what, and I'm making a video of that of what, and I'll show you the video tomorrow. It's gonna be in that video. Don't worry. But yeah, I just need to let you know that that's the reason, and I make an exception here because I wanted to get this video out for you guys. I wanted to record this so that I will have something for New Year's, creepypasta one, because like I said, I'm thinking of making these as holiday creepypastas, and then possibly reacting different creepypastas, not just holiday creepypastas, but also creepypastas throughout. But for now, that's what I'm doing. Alright, let's get, and this video is from Creepypasta Jr. It's called Something Terrifying Happened to Me on New Year's Eve. So please subscribe to him. I will leave the link down below in the video. I don't think I've heard him before. May I have in the past, but we're going to be seeing how he is. And also reacting because, like I said, I like scary stuff. And what else? And also, please, I will leave the link down below so you don't have to hear my voice during it. Alright? And yeah, go support this guy. This person. So that way, this person can make more creepypasta videos. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, let's get going. Alright, let's begin here. And yeah, I haven't forgotten anything. Let's begin this video. Ooh, I like how this is going. This is how it starts. Ooh, I like this intro. Oh, it says on the title. Okay.
I have never been much of a partier.
Okay.
I was always that person who quietly watches others indulge in their revelries.
So this is the voice, huh? Okay.
That's not to say I didn't have any revelries of my own, but mine were much more reserved. Still, I enjoyed the company of others and was well liked enough to be invited out numerous times by friends. This past New Year's Eve was no different. I had been working almost non-stop throughout the holidays leading up to the new year that I was starting to become a shell of my former self.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Whom I spend a lot of my off time with through video games and the like.
I'm
told
back.
that right off the bat. He had told me about an upcoming party that was being hosted for the new year.
Alright, that's
My
good.
sigh carried through the speaker of my headset.
Oh!
And I killed his character for the third time that match. Despite his losses, he persisted that getting me out of the house would be very therapeutic. I mulled over the thought for a bit. It's not that I was totally averse to the idea of going to a party.
My mouse is on screen, but don't worry.
The thought at that moment seemed like a tedious one.
Well, you gotta do something, man.
Moments of his constant invitations, I relented. He assured me that I wouldn't regret it, and even if I did, it was just a single night.
It's true.
With his viewpoint and continued the systematic removal of his remaining extra lives.
Oh,
New Year's
man.
Eve had arrived. I completed my early morning routine, which consisted of a shower and eating a stale bagel.
Well,
Since I had no work that day or the day after, I fell on
gotta
my
eat
couch
something.
and mindlessly flipped through the channels. Before I knew it, the sun was already in its descent in the sky, and my phone rumbled incessantly on the coffee table. It was Nate, texting me to let me know he was outside. I leaned forward, taking one last deep breath before grabbing my phone, keys, and heading out of the door. As I hopped into Nate's car, he flashed a large grin that seemed to hide ill intentions.
Okay.
I knew that was just how he looked. He often reminded me of a cheesy cartoon villain. Still, he greeted me and we began driving. I had asked him previously where the party was, and he told me he wasn't entirely sure.
Excuse me?
I tried to take that response with a grain of optimism. After all, Nate hasn't really steered me wrong before.
You better not.
As we drove, I asked once again where our destination was. He told me it was on the other side of town. that some of his friends were having a big New Year's bash at this large house. My
Alright.
assumption was that it'd be a few people getting together, sitting around a TV with maybe a few bottles of wine or something. However, when we pulled up to the house, I quickly realized that would not be the case. Rows upon rows of vehicles parked haphazardly along the driveway, spilling
Wow.
out onto the empty street nearby.
Oh my goodness.
Due to this, we had to park a fair distance away.
Oh, I hate that.
Made our way to the front door. As I stood there, I noticed just how large this house was. It was a massive 2-story house that
Lucky.
seemed very expensive. Nate knocked on the door and was greeted by a semi-drunken guy who shouted Nate's name and pulled him in for a hug. I had never met this person before, so I just nodded to him as Nate introduced me. The guy waved
That's
us
what you gotta do.
and I was nearly knocked back out of the door by the loud cacophony of people and music inside. There had to have been at least 100 or so people inside this house. Nate and I squeezed through pockets of crowds and journeyed through the house. As we walked,
Yeah?
Nate greeted a few of his friends, and before long, we found our way into the kitchen.
Yeah?
Now, like I mentioned earlier, I actually enjoyed the company of others, but this was a bit much. After a few claustrophobic moments, I found
Ooh.
myself standing in the back corner of the kitchen. It was then that I realized I had lost Nate in the sea of people.
Oh, that's bad.
So
that's very
I
bad.
just stood there looking like an awkward statue amongst strangers. At some point, someone had handed me a beer, so I began to drink. While I drank, I let my mind wander. I tried to let myself relax, to loosen up a bit, despite the constant stimuli around me. One drink turned into 2, and then 2 turned into 7. I continued knocking back cup after cup while maintaining my position in the back corner of the kitchen.
Oh man, he's gonna have a
That
hangover
was the last
tomorrow.
thing I remember of the party. Here is where things took a turn for the worse. When my body came to consciousness, I wasn't sure if I was still asleep or not. Although I could feel that my body was awake, and that my eyes were open, all I could see around me was blackness.
Oh,
I
why?
sat up and a pain jolted throughout my head.
Oh, why?
I had a massive hangover and cursed myself for drinking so much. I felt around my pockets to try and find my phone. My wallet and keys were still with me, but my phone was nowhere to be found. One of my many concerns that were steadily growing at this point.
I really don't like the dark
I
screen.
stood up and began to walk forward. A second later, I slammed my face directly into the wall. I recoiled and pressed my hands against it. I was wondering if I had fallen asleep in somebody's closet. I followed the wall along and realized that this was either a very large closet or I was mistaken. I found the first corner and turned, continuing my staggered walk. As my fingers traced along the walls, I tried to recall the events of the previous night. While I was in mid-thought, my fingertips touched something new. Something that wasn't the texture of the wall. It felt soft and strangely cold to the touch. It was then that I noticed a faint sound coming from directly in front of me. It was subtle. Breathing. I was not alone in this place. When I pulled my hand back, whoever this was in front of me grabbed me. Their hand clasped around my arm, squeezing tightly.
Oh my goodness.
Their fingers were digging in so hard that I could feel my muscles shift against my bone. In an attempt to pull away, I shoved my shoulder into this person and pushed them off me.
What's happening
This
here?
freed me from their grasp momentarily. I called out in a panic, asking who was in here with me. But I received no answer.
Oh.
I turned around and walked quickly with my arms outstretched, trying to find the door to this place. My hands rested upon a wall, and I quickly felt around for any sign of a doorknob or handle. A few frantic seconds later, my hand rested on the metallic knob and I attempted to turn it, but it was locked. I then heard that same faint breathing sound once again. Only this time, it was on the back of my neck.
Oh.
I spun around, throwing my arms out wildly. One swing went wide. while the other managed to connect with something. The mysterious person began to grab at me in an attempt to restrain my arms.
What is going on
As
here?
they grabbed a hold of one arm, I slammed and kicked with my other limbs as hard as I could.
Huh?
Even though I could feel every impact, the person who was on the receiving end made no sound whatsoever. I summoned all the strength I could muster and pushed against them. I could hear them stumble backwards. I turned and began kicking the door.
You gotta do something, man. You gotta do
On
something.
my fifth kick, the door creaked before snapping open.
Uh-huh.
I stumbled forward out of the door and was instantly blinded by the bright light outside. I was blinking repeatedly and shielding my eyes from the sun. As my blurry vision began to clear, I saw that I was in the middle of the woods. I looked around trying to find any reference point for my location.
What's happening here?
That's when I remembered I still wasn't alone. I turned and saw that the room I had just exited from was a makeshift shed of some kind.
Okay, what's
Then
going
I
on
saw
here?
the figure standing in the darkened doorway. I could feel the blood in my veins turn to ice as I stared unblinking at this creature.
Huh?
It looked like a human, but only barely. Its body was incredibly thin and was nearly as tall as the doorway itself. Disheveled hair hung from its scalp, down in front of its face. Chunks of flesh from its cheeks seemed to be missing, revealing rotted yet sharp teeth. Wide, sunken eyes stared directly into mine with an intense coldness that I had never seen before. When I saw this, I turned and began to sprint.
Oh, you better start
I ran
running,
for
man.
nearly
Start
20
running.
minutes before finally exiting the woods and ending up on a road. I walked along the road for a few minutes before seeing a street sign.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize the street, but in the distance nearby, I saw a house. I made my way over to it and knocked on the door. A large man answered the door and asked me what I wanted. I asked him if I could use his phone, but he refused. I then asked if he could just call me a taxi, and thankfully he did. I waited at the end of the driveway, keeping a close eye on the woods in the distance. 20 minutes later, the cab driver showed up. I hopped inside and asked him to take me home. Upon arriving at my house, I called Nate from my home phone and he answered with a panicked voice.
What's happening here?
He asked me where I was and what happened, and said that he was freaking out. He said that during the party he tried looking for me but couldn't find me anywhere. He said he had found my phone sitting on the kitchen counter, one which he knew was mine due to an obscure sticker I keep on my phone case. He said that when he asked around to see if anyone had seen me, nobody seemed to know who he was talking about.
Oh, that's
I told Nate I
actually
was
good,
fine,
honestly.
that I had simply fallen asleep outside, and he ridiculed me for being so careless. I rebuked by saying he was the one who brought me there in the first place. We both shared a laugh, which for a moment helped take my mind off what really happened.
Hey, better to keep
He
that
said he would
secret
swing
here.
by later to deliver my phone and hung up. I thought about telling Nate what really happened, and about contacting the police, but I decided against it.
Yeah.
After all,
it'd be
what would I
best.
say? Yeah, a tall creature took me to a shed in the woods. It sounds certifiably insane.
You can say tall man.
I just want to forget the whole ordeal like a bad dream. But all the questions keep echoing in my head. Like how I ended up in that shed in the first place. Did I drunkenly walk outside and that thing grabbed me, or had someone else placed me inside there with that thing? Speaking of that thing, I have no idea who or what it was.
It's best not to know.
Why it stood there all night watching me sleep without doing anything. Physically, I felt fine, so I'm fairly certain it hadn't touched me at all during the entire night.
Be glad.
Well, at least as far as I'm aware. I am at a loss. I think I'm going to take some time to try and sort this all out in my head. If any of you are planning on going to a party in the near future, please, be mindful of everything. You never know what could happen, or where you might end up, if you aren't careful.
Look what are you doing? Is it over? Oh, okay. Okay. Whoo. Okay, pause. There you go. Still go. There we go. Sorry, it's just my recording software is kind of making these videos laggy. Takes a bit, but either way, that last part creeped me out because he put it close. He put his voice close to the mic. Oh my gosh, that last part. Like I said, the beginning wasn't as scary, but then we started getting to this point, and then my tone kind of changed. I'm sorry that I was talking through that. It's just I want to like talk during these things, but I just want to hold back. Because I don't want to talk over it, but I also want to talk over it. It's just But that last part, man, whatever that was, I don't know what it was, but at least that person's safe. In the story, it's a story. Let that be a lesson to all you too. Don't basically start drinking too much, because you never know where you're gonna end up. Trust me, people have ended up in bad places. But either way, hope you enjoyed this video of Creepypasta Junior's basically the New Year party event. What a way to start the new year, huh? Ooh. I'm still feeling the chills of that last part. But yeah, like I said, this is possibly going to be a series for during the holidays, so that way I can... But it's not just going to be a holiday thing. I'm probably going to be basically watching non-holiday creepypastas. But yeah, I just... It's in my head right now. I'm seeing it, but I'm trying to end the video, but it's just... My brain is trying to jumble it. By the way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Check out Creepypasta Junior. This guy, this pretty. He may sounded not that quiet, but a little bit loud. But even still, as long as you're a storyteller, you're still able to make those chills happen. But please check out his video. I'll leave the link down below for this video if you don't want to hear me talking through it. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to Join My Dark Army. Plus, God, it's happening again. Whew. Press the. What is happening? Press the black bell. Oh my gosh, this story just got affected my brain. Press the black bell to be notified, or just come to my channel every once in a while during the week. And share the video, because it really helps me out as well. And also helps other content creators that I react to. I'm trying to think, but... Alright, but for right now, stay safe out there, and enjoy the Creepypasta videos. And I'll see you tomorrow. Because, like I said, it's going to be a very interesting video. But for right now, my dark means dismissed.